Good morning. Happy Global Wellness Day. We are so glad that you're here with us today and celebrating this beautiful day around the globe. We are now going to be live from Israel. We are happy to have Omar Caspi, a former 10-year NBA veteran, that's with us. He was one of the first players in Israel to play for the NBA and became the first Israel player to receive a championship ring. He helped lead the team, the Golden State Warriors, on a long road of victory to the championship. He's also been captain of the Maccabi Tel Aviv and the Israel national teams. He just recently started his own podcast and seen much success from the podcast. Amar is prevalent off the court as he is on. He's an investor. He started up a company called Day 2, which analyzes the elimination of basketball players and helps them take a diet that is for their needs and health. He invests in high-tech wellness companies. He enjoys time with his beautiful wife and beautiful daughters. With him will be Omar Alroy. He's co-founder of Wellness Tech One. I was fortunate to meet him in New York City at the Global Wellness Summit media event in January. He's amazing. He did a beautiful podcast with Kim Marshall for the podcast series for the Global Wellness Summit. He was the first wellness mindfulness for innovation hub in Israel. WellTech One invests and accelerates wellness startups with the ultimate goal of increasing visibility, seeking additional investments, and connecting to global partners to emerge in wellness market. Wellness One growth and program provides startup programs with know-how, a dedicated professional team of business advisors, global partners, and top mentors for them to emerge with. Amar is an excellent, passionate in wellness. He's an expert in fitness and sports with extensive entrepreneur and business background management experience. He's proud to be Israel's first global wellness ambassador, and last year he was able to celebrate Global Wellness Day. This coming year, he is going to take part in the Global Wellness Summit, where he's going to co-chair the event in November in Tel Aviv. Omar is also the Moonshot representative for the Global Wellness Institute in Israel. His favorite Global Wellness Day memory came last year when he celebrated it for the first time in Israel. He did an amazing wellness event on a rooftop over Tel Aviv. For wellness, it's not just about the business end for him, it's also a lifestyle. He's passionate for holistic life, to be a better person in his personal, home, and career. And he's been involved with wellness for more than 20 years. His personal goal is to help raise his 5 healthy children to be happy, active, and calm with a wellness-oriented approach. So we are proud to present Amir Alroy and Omri Casspi. Enjoy.
Hello, everybody. My name is Amir. I'm the Global Wellness Day Ambassador in Israel and the co-founder of WellTech One, the first wellness microfund and hub in Israel. I'm here with Omri Casspi, a 10 years veteran, NBA veteran, the first Israeli in the NBA and the captain of Maccabi Tel Aviv and the Israeli national team. We gather today as part of the Global Wellness Day in Israel to talk about sports, health, and wellness. Omri, it's great you joined us.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
So, can you tell us from what age have you been playing sports and specifically basketball?
Sports has always been a big part of our family life. My mom played basketball at the time. She was a national team player, under 16 national team for the Israeli women cadets at the time. And my dad always played tennis. My older brother, he was actually the first one who really introduced me to the game of basketball. My parents always been around the game of sports, and basketball was something that we all liked. But they also wanted me to try different sports in the beginning. So I played tennis. I did some judo. But as soon as I stepped foot on the basketball court, I knew that, it was meant to be, and I wanted to be a basketball player when I grow up.
From what age was that?
So roughly I think I truly became more of a basketball player at the age of 10. Before that, it was playing, in the neighborhood with friends, going back late at night, and mommy's mad at us for playing basketball till late, until they literally shut the lights off. But I think the age of 10 was really when I made it my sport.
Where did your motivation come from? From your father or?
I think both. I took a lot from both of my parents. My mom and dad always helped me to grow my own uh, intentions in basketball and in sports in general. They always made me to believe that the sky is the limit, literally, and there's anything I can accomplish if I put my mind to it. So I always wanted to find also my true colors and what I'm into it, stay true to my principles and concept that I believed in. So I always, was the hardest worker and always wanted a bit extra working after practice and stay humble and be a good teammate and be a good team player, and obviously listen to our coaches. All these things together, I think, helped me to become a professional basketball player.
And when did you realize that's, what you're going to do in life and what you're going to do for a living?
You know what? I think I turned professional when I was 16, 17. And I played for Maccabi Tel Aviv at the time. The team back then had former NBA players, Anthony Parker and many others. And the first time I stepped on the court as a professional, and I felt, I can play with these guys. Maybe I wasn't as good at the time, but I felt that I can truly make it a career and, hopefully in the future be able to provide my family. And I signed my first professional contract when I was 18.
And your first thought, the first dream maybe about the NBA,
Mm-hmm.
when was that? During the time when you played in Maccabi Tel Aviv?
Yeah, you can say. I have a video when I was 13. It was a bar mitzvah trip, right? So Jewish people, when they get to the age of 13, they have bar mitzvah. It's essentially when they turn from kids to more of men. And my parents had a trip organized to go to the U.S. And the last city on that trip was a 21-day trip. We got to New York, and my father recorded it at the time. And I said to my mom and dad, I said, Mom and Dad, one day, I promise you guys, I'll play here at the Garden. And, it was more of a kid having a big dream. But I think, honestly, when I felt like I can make the jump to the NBA was when I was about 20 years old. It was literally about a couple of months before the draft. I was a starter for Maccabi, and we just won the championship. And I told my mom and dad I want to take that chance and get to the NBA draft and hopefully be drafted and go from there.
And tell us a bit more about that process, before being drafted to the NBA, like the time before, even the emotional state you were at.
Sure. Yeah, it's very emotional. That was the first time when I realized that there is obviously the wellness of a body, right? You're staying in shape, you're eating right, you're sleeping well, getting massages, etc. But that was the time when I figured there's the mental health, and this I think at the time as a professional basketball player, I think Israel was years behind. I think we're still years behind on that particular segment of mental health. But 15 years ago, 12 years ago, we were way behind, and this nervousness and the excitement of maybe getting drafted or maybe not. I was a first round pick. It was the middle of the night. The whole country pretty much stayed up or followed it for certain extent.
I remember that actually.
I trust me, I remember that very well. Like it's the best day of my life, obviously. Or second, or not anymore, right? I'm married and I have two daughters, and there's nothing that compared to having the birth of two of your daughters. But from a professional standpoint, it was definitely an unbelievable day. So that was the time when I decided to really take into consideration having a mental coach and to really start taking care of the box above the head.
And tell us more about some routines, in the NBA that are both mental and physical, that help to your wellness overall state, your well-being as a person and as an athlete.
Sure. So people, from the outside, it looks like we're just playing a game, but it's so much more intense than it is. Our weekly routine or our monthly routine is predicated on obviously the schedule, but essentially you always get it's mandatory 10 lifts a month. So let's say you wake up in the morning, 8 in the morning, you get to the gym by 9. You eat breakfast, team breakfast, and then you start your day pretty much, right? So some go and get treatment, which means stretching and massage therapists, and if you have some bumps and bruises, and the medical staff taking care of that. From there, that's where you go into the pools, right? We have hot pool and we have a really ice cold pool, and then that's what sometimes I usually like is to get to hot cold before practice, right? So I get into the hot pool, and then I get into the really cold, and then I get again in the hot tub. So essentially, it's really circulate the blood, and then it gets my legs really going and feeling fresh, right? We literally played a game the night off, so the next day you're coming into the gym, you really feel fresh to practice, and then that's where you get into the weight room. You start your routine. So some days it's upper body day or a lower body day, or sometimes you just got to get extra conditioning in. To stay in shape. Guys not always playing the 15, 20 minutes a game that they need, and then they must keep up with the rest of the team. They got to stay ready for the next game. So that's where you kind of get your daily routine. And I think it was, as I was younger, it was harder for me to keep, staying in that particular shape and eat right and do all these things. But once I got a little bit older, my post game, for example, right? Post game meal was literally in the window of we finished the game, we got to the locker room, coach talked, and literally it was team dinner. That's where it was like this window that we learned that your body recovers, 3 times faster if you eat in this 45-minute window post competition. So that's where we, have a really healthy meal and you just feel much better the next day. And these things, today I take it into my daily life. Right? The part that I was most intrigued by was the mental side of things, and it was hard for me in the beginning to, there's a little bit of ego, right? Who were going to tell me what to think and how to think? But after I got past that point, I really took it into, like a really daily routine, preparing the games, preparing myself, keeping myself at the current stage, not never thinking too much about the past or not thinking about too much about the future. And this is where I really, I felt like it was, a good point of my life.
Which techniques do you use, for example, to prepare yourself mentally? Today everybody talks about mindfulness. I think maybe 10 years ago, it wasn't even a word. So, but you still practiced it, but it wasn't so common. So, what did you do back then?
Well, it's a good question. I think even us as NBA players, I always say that NBA players in particular from all sports, I think we face so much adversity and pressure to perform at such a high level for such a long period of time. We go on the court for 7, 8 months, a year, literally playing every other day, media, pressure, the excitement of a game. And I think the NBA guys have done a really good job of creating that atmosphere of people talking about, the mental side of things, right? There's depression and there's pressure, there's problems at the house, and all these things that come into consideration when you got to perform every night at a very high level. So to your point is, I wouldn't really call it a technique, but I think there are certain aspects of the mental side of things that I like to always remind myself, right? So things that are not in my control, for example, I'm not worried about them. I can't control it, so why would I spend energy doing and worrying about it, right? To simplify it is let's say I'm coming into a game and I'm not playing. So, obviously, every athlete and a professional athlete, we're all competitors and we want to play. But at the end of the day, I couldn't do anything to change it at that particular morning, so I'm not really worried about it. What I'm worried about is coming the next day to practice and performing at a really high level and being prepared for the next game. So controlling what I can control, and there's other things, that I personally like, right? I think my value is not predicated on what other people think of me, right? If, let's say, the coach or, the fans don't think I'm a good player, or they think I'm a really good player, that doesn't necessarily say it is what it is, right? I predicate my own value essentially out, and that's what people would essentially also going to look at. But I would never let people really to interfere with my own self to be able to perform at a high level.
And what what did you take with you, to this life today? You're in Israel, you play in Maccabi Tel Aviv, you're married, you have two girls, you're an adult.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. I think I'm much more prepared to face adversity. I think for a basketball player, there's so many different aspects. There's obviously the basketball side. There's the your body and how you prepare your body and stuff like that. But there's also the mental aspect of things. And I think a lot of athletes, unfortunately, still not preparing and doing all this job on the mental side as well. So this is something that I always, was very intrigued about. And right now, like even now, injured, I just returning from an injury. So the wellness side from the health perspective, it's very important to keep my food right and to, just to stay active and to get my cardio in on the bike, to offset some of the pressure of my knees. But also seeing the picture in a positive way, or in a natural way. It's really what it is, that I am preparing to come back and hopefully come back better than I was before.
Yeah. Sounds good. On top of sports, you took your experience and your contacts, and I know you invested in a successful Israeli company that's that is connected to nutrition, and you are involved in cannabis. So can you tell us, the connection? Why did you invest in those companies? Why does it interest you? What's the connection to wellness?
Yeah, so the first company I actually I invested firstly was a company called Day 2 out of Israel. And what I liked about this company in particular was the clinical development and the studies that they've had. So essentially this company, what it does is it's a micro, it has today the largest database of microbiome of humans, for a very wide variety of ages. And essentially what they did is by giving a stool sample, getting into the database, they find a formulation and some AI to dictate what some of the microbiomes that they can infect your insulin levels in the blood. So essentially the study started with, diabetic and pre-diabetic people. And I thought it was genius. But when I was really intrigued by is and I'm still is that insulin levels are very important for basketball player. What we eat, what we get into our body before a game, before a competition, before we go to sleep. When we wake up in the morning, you have sometimes this sluggish effect, right? You wake up and you're tired and you don't understand why. And, you just think it's part of normal life, which today we know that there's so much data today out there about the microbiome in the body. So I figured that, for an athlete, it can be really good and help me even get 0.5% or 1% better, and I can really bring a lot of value to my basketball career. And also knowing them and knowing the people involved, and obviously the Weizmann Institute is one of the largest and smartest, most advanced institutes in the world. I can really, there's really a real story and a real science behind it. So I introduced it to many of my friends, and many of them loved it, right? So today I think it's the most recommended diet for pre-diabetic people, which I think it's very healthy. And I think the world of wellness is so important. And I think there's so much more awareness into it. And so I thought Day 2 is really one of the forefront leaders of that industry here in Israel. And cannabis, to me, it's always been about wellness. It's crazy that, to me, and today in our day and age, it's been illegal for so many years, and it still is. It's so many different countries. There's so much good involved in cannabis, from the anti-inflammatory and the relaxers and the muscle relaxers and etc. That it just does so much good, right? So I have a really good friend in the U.S. His name is Larry Sanders. Larry it was really important for his mental health, right? And it kept him calm, kept him relaxed. And in the end of the day, it's a natural habitat. So, he couldn't play the game of basketball anymore when they wouldn't let him get his pretty much it's medicine, and natural medicine. So today we know that there's so much data out there, and I look at it from many different ways. I think wellness is obviously the forefront of cannabis, but there's other things. There's, I think, the pharmaceutical side, and the pharmaceutical industry is really going to enjoy it. I think the animal health is really going to enjoy it. And to me, cannabis is really, a unique plant.
Very interesting. So both of us are Israeli, and
Mm-hmm.
we live in Israel. We live in the startup nation, and
Mm-hmm.
I run a fund that invests in wellness innovation. You are very into this industry, an investor, and while you talk, we can understand you're into wellness innovation,
Absolutely.
wellness technology. How do you think technology affects the wellness industry generally?
First, I think we're a lot more precise. I think there's the database is enormous. I think the fact that the wellness market is such a huge market, it will create such a great incentive to people to really invest and to dig deep and to find different solutions to different aspects of wellness, right? And there's a wide variety of things that can relate into wellness. Wellness touch our daily life pretty much on everything that we do. It can go from knee pain to your diet, to the way you sleep, and to monitor all these things all at once. So essentially, I think it's just an amazing market to be a part of, and there's so much good related to it. And I'd love to hear from you. What are some of the things do you think that we can really, improve daily life in people's life?
Yeah, I think, I think the same. It's a $4.5 trillion industry,
Wow, I
across,
didn't even know that, actually.
across sectors, beauty and aging, nutrition,
Right.
eating,
Wow.
physical activity, wellness, real estate, wellness, tourism, you name it. And, I think even after COVID-19 or during COVID-19, it got a boost, this industry. Everybody wants to feel better. We are all more aware of prevention and healthy lifestyle. So I think there is an opportunity all over the world, actually. In my case, we launched like a call for startups, and we had lots of startups from all over the globe. So, it's here to stay, wellness,
Mm-hmm.
prevention, healthy lifestyle.
Oh,
For
absolutely.
example, with which apps? Do you use any apps, for better health, for better sleep, nutrition, fitness? Tell us some secrets, Omri.
Well, I use the Day2 app, which keeps me monitoring my food and my sugar levels. Our team, doctors and physical therapists and our strength conditioning coaches, um, have us this app that monitor our sleep, how deep our sleep is, when did we truly fell asleep, and when did we wake up in the morning.
This
And
is
essentially,
from NBA times or currently?
these are currently actually these are Maccabi. I think one of the things that the sports teams here in Israel are doing, and I think they should do more, is to start integrating this different technologies into the daily routine of their players and to help expand this business. And Maccabi should be the forefront of it, and they already are doing a lot of these things. Monitoring our sleep to me is very important, right? One thing I learned over my years in the league, which I played most of my career there, is that the nap of 100 to about an hour to an hour and 30 is really affecting my night sleep, and I sleep much better at night, and I'm a lot more active and relaxed the next day, rather than not sleeping and not getting my 8-9 hours of sleep at night. So sleep is something that I really relate to. I really relate to the food I'm getting in and consuming into my body. I have a really unique routine, which I'm having my breakfast. I'm actually squeezing a lemon a day in the morning, I think, It gives me a boost of energy that I can't even explain. I don't know if there's any data on it, but it just gives me a boost of energy. And then
every morning you squeeze a lemon?
every morning, yeah, by myself. I cut it in half, squeeze it, and I just drink it. I just chug it. First thing I put into my body. But from there, really, having my breakfast and my daily breakfast and getting my vitamins. I'm taking a vitamin D and a fish oil, a multivitamin, and then I'm getting into my BCA, creatine, and stuff like that to help me get through practice and recover much faster. I'm a big believer in ZMA, which is some of the things that you take before sleep. So all these things kind of keep you fresh and relaxed and your body at peak condition. So I stretch in the morning, I stretch pre-practice, which pre-practice we more do of an active stretching. Post-practice more of a relax on the floor, getting into, deeper range of motions. And then, we get our treatment, massage therapist twice a week. You really have a strict routine to maintain your body and to perform at a high level.
Yeah, very, very interesting. When it comes, from somebody like you that is also, an active athlete, and from that experience in the NBA and has
Absolutely.
a family.
There's a story about LeBron James that he spends $1 million a year. And LeBron James.
All right.
LeBron James spends $1 million a year on his body, from his physical therapist that travel with him, to his strength conditioning, to his chef at the house that cooks for him, through his daily routine and regimens, which is at the end of the day, you invest in yourself. When you invest in yourself, good things come out of it.
Share with us some more tips for wellness practices in the NBA, maybe, or in Maccabi Tel Aviv, like crazy stuff that you wouldn't imagine they do to keep their body and spirit, in the top state.
Sure. I mean, in the end of the day, our profession is being active and staying active. But to the extent that professional athletes, to get to a certain extent, that it's not healthy for your body, but still it's part of our regimen, right? So what we usually do is even now during Corona, right? And we've been quarantined, and everyone got into extreme situation with him and his family that we never really been apart. And what I did during these times is I usually kept a regimen that kept me active, kept me doing the things that I like, kept me fresh doing the things that I like. So when I woke up in the morning, I usually got into 15-20 minutes light weight room stuff that I can do in my house. So is it push-ups? Is it some squats and some calf raises and stuff like that? They got me active. I already starting the day feeling good. And I think I think now it's also soundly proven there's a direct correlation between body and mind, right? So when your body feels good, your mind feels better, your mind feels better, your body feels better. So it's very connected, and there's a direct correlation. So from there, having my breakfast and some time with my family and stuff like that. But then when I go to sleep, before I go to sleep, is this where I get into my stretching routine, getting on the floor, whether it's massages or whether it's, foam rolling and really getting into some stretches, getting into my body and feel it better. And these type of things, these are the things, I play with the Warriors, and one of the things the Warriors have done, they did that really well. It was an optional thing. To get a yoga classes a couple of times a week or once a week, right? So that's where the time when you're going through these crazy extreme times when you're playing every other day, or 17, 16 game a month, but then you get the next day and you get a 45-minute yoga session when you get some strength and you get some length of muscles and you get some stretching and you're doing all these different poses and you're feeling really well after when you're done. So all these different things, I think they're very important.
Yeah, this holistic approach. Yeah, I totally agree. So tell us the last secret, what you did during the Corona quarantine. You have that dog,
right.
You walked him, I guess, right? Show him.
Johnny, that's Johnny. We got him a couple of weeks ago.
That's wellness, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely wellness, and I love him so much. And, my daughters, I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and when to a certain point, we really wanted to adopt a dog, and I think Johnny was available, and we brought him in, and became a part of our small family. So
Yeah,
we always been
that's
a
great.
part of
That's great. I have also 2 dogs and a cat.
it. It just keeps us positive. You know, you see him in the morning, he just plays around. He always wants to play. You know, you take him down to a walk. And he's such a good dog. So we're having a good time.
Okay, thank you, Johnny. Thank you, Omri.
No, my pleasure. Thank you,
Have a
guys.
great Global Wellness Day.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.